Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is, did the big repo scheme just start? I'll say it again. Did the big repo scheme just start? I'll explain. Yes, please subscribe to the channel, and yes, please join Prophecy Club. $9.90 a month or more helps us to take out the dips that occur, which, by the way, we're in one right now, so if you could help us, that'd be a wonderful time. Okay, so the big repo scheme. What is it? There is a plan where they plan to repo our houses, our cars, our lands, our building, our businesses. What? Really? Yes. By 2030, you will own nothing, they say, but you will be happy. Who says that? Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum. In other words, sometime between now and then, these ultra-rich people that rule and control the world and have for thousands of years, like they told Benjamin Fulford, we rule this planet for thousands of years, we'll destroy it rather than give it up. They have a plan to take our houses, our cars, our lands, our businesses, all through bankruptcy. Well, how can that be? Well, we're about to show you today. Bank withdrawal access denied to thousands in Australia as customers forced to move 500 miles. They got to drive 500 miles if they want to get money out of their bank account. Now, on the surface, it sounds like, oh, not so bad. But if you look a little deeper, yes, it has a scheme behind it. 4,500 residents living in the town of, if I can say this right, Kinah Not Right, now facing a 500-mile journey to the closest bank. Located in Western Australia, used to have brick-and-mortar branches, but they've closed, and there's been over 450 branches close in America also. I reported on it a couple of weeks ago. But all three banks have now left, citing reasons like staffing security amid industry-wide trend of reducing physical location. 424 bank branches shut down in Australia and about 450 so far in America. What's going on? Do they know something that you and I don't know? Yeah, I believe they have a plan. And that plan is to get our wealth. Take our homes, our businesses, take everything we own and own it. So amid these closures and other concerns, the nation's big four banks have stated that they have no plans to fully abandon paper money. That's a lie. That is a lie. We know that they're planning on coming up with the CBD's central bank digital currency. We know. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on the right hand or on their forehead, and then no man might buy or sell save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. They are. They are. Now, maybe these low people here don't know it, but people in high places know. They are planning on going to a digital currency. We already hear that the cell phones, actually it's not a cell phone, it doesn't make phone calls, but it's about the size of a cell phone. It links into Elon Musk's Starlink satellites, and the way I understand it'll work is it'll go past all of the passwords, everything. When it goes into an area, it will automatically log on to the strongest Wi-Fi signal or the Bluetooth or whatever it takes. They're always in contact. They're always tracking us. And on it, you will not be able to turn off the speakerphone or the camera, and it is touch sensitive on both sides of the phone, and you cannot put any kind of like a cover on it. And as you touch it, it's always taking your fingerprints, your face print, your voice print, always. It always knows where you are, and no one can steal your money. You can't have access to your money because it is a digital account. Now think about that. That's perfect. And that sounds really good. And if Jesus was heading it up, then that'd be great. But since it's to be the Antichrist heading it up, that's not so great. Anyway, amid these closures and concerns, the nation's big four banks have stated that they have no plans to fully abandon paper money. That's a lie. However, the trend towards a cashless society continues. I think that's what you call talking out of both sides of your mouth. With Australians withdrawing more cash despite the decreasing number of ATMs and bank branches. Here's some of what was in the article. Australia's banks are already refusing cash withdrawals for their customers. Now, wait a minute. It's one thing when you don't have a brick-and-mortar store, and they got to drive to a brick-and-mortar store to withdraw. But that's not what this is saying. This is saying that they're going to the brick-and-mortar, and they're not letting them get their money out of the bank. I thought it was absolutely crazy. How can you go to a bank and not get your money out? I thought she misheard what I wanted. What's in the bank if there's no cash? How can you go to a bank not be able to get your own money out? It's part of the globalist agenda to roll out CBDCs. Australian banks are refusing, are you listening? Refusing to allow customers to make cash withdrawals. Well, that's a good thing. All we have to do is just take the money away from the people, repossess their houses, their cars, their businesses, okay? It's coming to the rest of the world soon unless you resist. No, it's coming to the rest of the world, so says Bible prophecy. And that's the reason I'd recommend you call 800-200-GOLD. Now, I'm not a financial counselor. I can't give you financial advice. But it seems to me that if the IRA or the 401k I have is tied to or is counting on some kind of a paper increase or counting on that paper not to decrease, and I got my life savings in that, I'm at risk. You know, if a person has worked 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, maybe more, and they've been putting it into their IRA, their whatever it is, that is associated or tied to some kind of a paper that includes money markets, that includes, I mean, again, I'm not an expert, but these guys can help you. That'd be a good time. See, in my opinion, this is not a good time to be thinking about making money with your life savings as much as seeing that you don't lose your life savings. Well, by having it in gold stored near you, where a place you can drive to and get your gold or your silver, that sounds pretty smart to me. 800-200-GOLD. Don't lose your life's savings. 800-200-GOLD. Back to the articles. Regulators told to be ready to handle failed clearinghouses. What? This is Reuters, guys. Regulators must equip themselves with tools such as bail-in bonds. What's a bail-in bond? Here's what a bail-in bond is. When the bank or the financial institution goes out of business, then all of the money that you have in it can be confiscated. That's what a bail-in is. In other words, it's bailing out the bankers by bailing in your money. So as bail-in bonds to deal quickly with a failed clearinghouse for stocks, bonds, or derivatives without having to call on taxpayers for cash. What'd they just say? They're trying not to call on taxpayers for cash, but if you've noticed, a lot of people, I've got some emails on it, people have sent me, periodically you just get a text message and say you have to agree to our upgraded, what's the words? They're upgraded schemes, it's not the right word for it. You know what I'm talking about. And if you click OK, and you didn't go read that, and it says, well, we've now included bail-ins, meaning that if our financial institution were to fail, we could take your money as part of the way to get out of it. That's what you call a bail-in. Some clears have become vital to financial systems in more than one jurisdiction, meaning their failure could damage financial stability unless they can be stabilized or resolved, meaning closed down. So they're going to close down if they don't take your money. So guess what they do? They take your money. It sets out 7 resources. By the way, this is not exactly what this article says. I'm not trying to put words in the article. I'm trying to say is this is a culmination of many articles through the years, many things that I've got. This is what the plan is. It sets out 7 resources and tools that regulators are required to pick up from, such as bail-in bonds issued by clearers that can be written down to plug losses. What? What did it just say? Bail-in bonds are issued by clearers that can be written down to plug losses. They just told us that they're willing to take our money. Temporary public funding for liquidity should be relied on only as a last resort. That's right, as a last resort. You want to take people's money as a last resort. But that's a pretty good plan. If you want to take their houses, their cars, their businesses, if you want to repossess all of them so that you own everything and they'll be happy. See? Exchanges such as, and I don't even know what all those exchanges mean, but CME all operate major clearing houses that handle trades totaling trillions of dollars. The G20 economies commit to applying regulatory recommendations, hard to even say, from the FSB, and the watchdog said it would monitor implementation and publish of its findings. Now, here's what Hal Turner says about it. This is his opinion. The fact that this news has come out publicly should be an earth-shattering red flag to everyone. It seems to me that they don't tell regulators to, quote, prepare to handle failed clearinghouses unless they already know that more than one clearinghouse is failing. Now, the question is, which ones? The fact that this guidance from the Financial Stability Board has now been made public, I think it is their way of telling those who need to know something is terribly wrong with more than one clearinghouse. And I think it likely signals those in the know to get out and get out fast. Okay, so if the top people are telling the middle people, I'm putting this real simple, okay? If the top people are warning through veiled words, warning the middle people that the whole house of, what is that game? Jenga, or, where you pull out the blocks and then the whole thing falls. Okay, so they may be talking about that the whole financial system is going to fall. Oh, surely not. We don't have any prophecies that says our financial system is going to fall. No, we don't. Probably just 12 or 14 going on. If time was not of the essence, they would not have needed to make this public. They could have spread the word quietly, discreetly. So, Hal Turner says, in my opinion, whatever is about to happen is going to be staggering. I think they know it's coming. And of course, according to the World Economic Forum, they've openly stated it. I think they know it, and they know it can't be stopped. I also think they have enough time to tell the people quietly. So they've issued this guidance. Thankfully, he says, I do not own stock, bonds, or derivatives, and neither do I, but people with retirement accounts do. Let me read that again. So if you have an IRA, 401, if you have some kind of a retirement account with money in it, your life savings, so to speak, better listen up. People with retirement accounts do what? Some of those retirement accounts are in stocks and bonds and derivatives. I'm not saying yours is. Got to check. People in pensions rely on those pension funds to get cash out of stocks to pay their pension. And that right there is the big rub. Pensions hold stocks. I'll say that again. Pensions hold stocks. When they need to sell, some to put out pension checks, they sell. Their stock goes to the clearinghouse, and the buyer sends cash to the clearinghouse, and theoretically, the clearinghouse sends the cash to the pension fund. Theoretically. But now with bail-ins, with this warning, maybe no. In general, a clearinghouse has sent stocks or bonds to be settled. The entity settling sends the funds to the clearinghouse to be forwarded onto the seller. But if the clearinghouse is a bust, the money the seller was supposed to get never comes from the clearinghouse. They keep it. Hence, they failed. Hence, you lost all your money. And you did so in agreement. You agreed to it by checking that little thing when they said, by the way, I got one the other day. I listened to the Bible driving down the road. And the way I listen to that is it's installed on my cell phone. And it goes through, I don't know what, my son set it up. And all of a sudden, I couldn't listen to it anymore. And it kept coming up with this little thing here, you got to agree to this. And I kept pressing dismiss. It says you got to pull over and you got to approve all that. Anyway, so whatever it was, they set it all up. So I had to pull over, and it went in, and I had to approve their new terms, or I couldn't listen to it. That's the same thing the banks do. You got to approve their new terms. And when you say, well, it's nothing. I'm not going to read all this 45 pages of legalese. But in that, we may have agreed to something we don't like. If I had the funds in anything that needed to be cleared, Hal says, I would get mine out. What you do in your business is your responsibility. You should consult with a licensed financial expert before making any financial decisions, and I agree. But he says, I have a feeling something wicked this way comes. Well, we prophecy students have known this is coming for a long time. That's the reason I recommend you call 800-200 gold. You've been warned. 800-200 gold. Do not lose your life savings. Don't do it. And if you have a chunk of money someplace, even if it's under a mattress, if it's in paper, like Lindsey Williams said, if it's in paper, that includes currency. If it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on, meaning it might be worthless. But if you have it in gold or silver, where you can access it either in your home or someplace close, it's never going to be worth nothing. Let me go on. Paris Olympics 2024, a new era of AI and biometric surveillance. Now you may be saying, wait a minute, I thought the topic today is finances. Yes, it is. Well then, why'd you put this in here? Because this does relate to finances. See, Mark of the Beast relates to finances. Since no one can buy or sell save he had the mark, blah, blah, blah. French authorities then decided to deploy body scanners, not just facial recognition. What they did was access images from 100 cameras. What got flagged are crowd surges, abnormally heavy crowds, abandoned objects, presence or use of... So there's some good to it too. Okay, I agree. Signs posted, all of that is all monitored, but why? Well, they want to make certain that people can't do harm to other people. Yes, at least that's the surface. That's why they do it. But what's something more so that they can track and find us? Now, let me go to a dream I had. Let me tell you about this. We had a prophet come in and speak to Spirit of Prophecy Church. And it was December 4th, 1999. If you look it up, I believe that was Sunday. And so I went up to him before the meeting started because he is a guy that had lots of dreams and visions. And I said, you know, I've never had a dream or vision from God about the future. Would you pray that I'd have one? He said, sure. So he prayed that I'd had one, and they did start that night. And this was the first one. I'd never had anything like this. And I think it has still not come to pass, but I think it's probably not over the horizon. It's probably at the end of the block. So in this dream, I was walking under a large bank. The bank covered one city square block. I was walking under, looking up. I could see the bottom of the first floor about 15 feet above me. I noticed the foundation of the bank was made of red brick, the same kind of red brick to build houses. In other words, our economy is based upon the housing industry. This made perfect sense. I didn't understand it at the time. Made of red brick, the kind they build houses that would never hold the weight of the large bank. The foundation was only 1 brick thick, with large holes in the foundation every 10 to 20 feet. But right in front of me was a hole in the foundation so large I could get on my knees and crawl through it. And I thought, wow, this is dangerous. I can remember it exactly. This bank could collapse and fall on me at any minute. I looked at this weak foundation and thought, there is no way this foundation could hold the weight of this big bank on a good day, especially in an earthquake. Now, I never got the idea or the connection that the earthquake might be associated with the New Madrid earthquake that Shane Warren just said that when we see the dollar blowing worthless as leaves in the wind, there's going to be a New Madrid earthquake. So it was both physically and also spiritually tied together. Let's go on. I started to walk the 5 steps to the hole in front of me, get down on my knees and crawl out. Then, about 25 steps away, was another hole so large I could just walk out from under the bank without getting on my knees, meaning if we want to get out of this financial situation, we better be getting on our knees every day and praying and asking God to get us through it. I chose to take the easy way out and began to walk out through the larger hole. Suddenly, the bank began to shake. The bank fell about halfway down to the floor. That's a 50% drop in the dollar, just like Maurice Galar and like Dana Coverstone and like Shane Warren. Several goes down third, down 50%, 66%, worthless as leaves in the wind. What was about 15 feet tall and the ceiling was now about 7 foot. Instantly, I was surrounded by a mass of terrified, screaming people. They were running all directions with no place to go. It was panic. They're running into me and blocking my way to the easy opening seconds earlier would have made it easy to escape. I couldn't see the easy escape hole anymore, and I looked for the hole 5 steps away. I could have got down on my knees and crawled through, but now I couldn't see that either. In other words, I couldn't get out because I didn't get out early, hint, okay, as in, I'm not telling you. Let's put, I don't have a 401k. I don't have a 5, or I don't have a 601. I don't have an 8. I've never worked for a big company like that. I don't have any of that. But if I did, I would start getting it into gold and silver. As a matter of fact, probably what I would do would be like 90% of it silver, because Shane Warren said silver is going to skyrocket far more than gold. Anyway, back to this. In the panic, I was lost. And I was just as lost and just as much in panic as everyone else. I ran to the far side of the bank, found a large hole, got out from under the bank, and I knew I had to get several blocks away from the bank building because it was many stories high. I didn't want it to fall on me. But as I stepped from under the bank foundation, I saw a chain link fence about 25 feet away, approximately 15 foot tall, topped with razor wire, surrounding the entire bank. I remember this specifically. About a half a city block away was a security guard firing a machine gun, keeping people from the guard tower, keeping people back under the bank. He was trying to keep people into the bank that was falling, and that's what they want to do. They want to keep you into the system so that they can collapse it. They take your house, your cars, your business, everything you have, and you'll be broke. You won't own anything, but you'll be happy. World Economic Forum, that's their plan. Some were lying dead, others shooting he was shooting as fast as they neared the fence. He was trying to keep people under the falling bank. I saw an old pickup truck parked next to the fence, and I waited until his head was turned. Running, I put my left foot on the bed, right foot on the top of the cab, jumping for my life, jumped over the fence, and I had escaped. But only at the risk of my life. Now looking back, I saw many others trapped or dead. I think that what we're probably seeing is the start of a big repo scheme. Repossessing houses, cars, lands, buildings. But look, okay, remember after 9/11, they dropped the interest rate down to 0, and they held it at 0. Now, when they raised the interest rate, who makes that interest money? Oh, the government does. Wrong. Federal Reserve does. And who's the Federal Reserve? Well, it's not federal, and there's doubtful reserves. I've had some people say there is no gold in Fort Knox. Now, I've not been there, I don't know. But a Federal Reserve is actually 12 personal banking families that own and control the world. So when they raise the interest rate, they're not doing it because they're controlling the inflation. They're doing it because they're bringing in our money into their pockets. That's a long story. I won't go into it. But I've got one more thing I want to cover before I get out of this. Doesn't exactly relate, but indirectly it does. So Biden is in a race to push through regulations in case Trump wins. I think that what this article is saying is I think the Democrats are scared out of their mind. They see that everything that they have thrown at Trump has not worked. I think that they see the polls, the real polls, and they see it's not a point or two. I think they see that Trump is massively ahead. And I think that they know that Trump is going to have people this time watching to see that the election is not stolen. And I think they're afraid that they're going to lose it. I think they have a time machine. I think they have a looking glass. I think they can see the future. And I think they already know what's going to happen. I think they already see Trump's going to win. And so they're trying to do as much damage to the ship so that the ship will sink, so that they can get everybody to jump on the Antichrist ship, okay? The Biden administration is pushing through federal regulations at a furious pace. With 37 proposed new rules and 56 finalized rules, all in the past week, a loan that will cost businesses, forget the money, okay? It's not about business. It's not about money. I asked somebody the other day, and I said, so where's this really going? Well, they want to have all the money. Okay, fine. They get all the money. They can print the money now. Why do they want to have all the money? Well, they want the control. They want power. Okay, why do they want the control? Why do they want the power? And most people can't answer the next question. Why? Because they don't know Bible prophecy. The next question is because they want to see the Christian nation go down so they can raise up their man, the Antichrist, to sit on the throne, to rule the world. And he wants to sit on the throne to require everybody to worship him. He said it in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. The total cost of businesses, forget the cost. is less than the entirety of the Obama administration. The Washington Times reported Thursday, citing the American Action Forum, a right-leaning economic think tank that tracks federal regulations and their costs. The Biden administration is working fast, this is the point, in case former President Donald Trump prevails in November's election. I think they know. I think in this past week you really started to see an uptick in activity. In other words, they see they're about to lose, and so they're going to do as much damage as they can because they want their man on the throne. For the rest of the year, you're going to see a concerted effort to get some of these items across the finish line so they can avoid scrutiny next year if the election goes a certain way, in other words, against them. Among the regulations established include, listen to this, a Health and Human Services mandate that requires nursing homes that receive Medicare and Medicaid funding to have a minimum number of staffers. Why? Well, because they want to kill as many people as they can, because that pleases their God. An Environmental Protection Agency rules setting strict emission standards for heavy-duty trucks, buses, and other large vehicles starting in 2027. Why? Because they want to stop the prosperity, the movement of food, the movement of everything, because that would cause people to die. The Department of Labor rule imposing stricter standards on retirement investment advisors. Why? Because they want to repossess everything. They want to take your land, everything you have. A rule cutting emissions from new natural gas and existing coal-fired power plants. They want to turn off your electricity. Why? Because they say that roughly, 90%? I believe this is the number. 90% of the Americans would die in the first 12 months if there were no electricity. So they're shutting down our system. The Biden administration is racing to establish as many regulations as possible. Why? Because they could be overturned if Trump wins in November and Republicans retain their majority in the House, the Times reported. Many of the regulations can be overturned through the Congressional Review Act of 1996, which allows Congress to rescind any agency rules within 60 congressional session days of when a regulation is finalized and sent to Capitol Hill. It requires only a simple majority in the Senate to pass. Unless there is an internal revolution, unless some guy named Trump is made to be president. No. President has limited powers. He would have to be made king, just like Henry Gruver was shown. A couple other prophecies say the same thing. And as a king, like Nebuchadnezzar, whom he would, he slew. Whom he would, he kept alive. Whom he would, he lifted up. Whom he would, he put down. I mean, in the days of the Pharaoh, in the days of Moses, the Pharaoh commanded all of the baby boys of the Jews to be thrown into the Nile River, and they did it. And that's the reason Moses was put into a little boat, basically, that floated, and of course all the story there. In other words, they have ultimate power. They can kill whom they want. And if an evil person comes in, that's a big problem. But if a good person comes in that wants to heal our land and fix us, that could be very, very good. Now, we'll see how it all works. In the meantime, if you've not asked Jesus to forgive your sins, you better get after it. If you've not got yourself prepared mentally, spiritually, and physically, you better get after it. Let me talk about our three sponsors briefly. First, if you want to get gold or silver, we're going to send you to 800-200-GOLD or prophecyclubgold.com. prophecyclubgold.com. Second, if you want to get long-term emergency food, the only place I would send you to is josephskitchen.com. It is what I believe is God's long-term storage food. As you recall, Pharaoh and Joseph, what fed the world for 7 years was wheat. Most of your long-term storage places, $9,000 to $10,000 to feed one person for 1 year. Joseph's Kitchen can show you how to do it for about $1,000, one person, 1 year. And EMP Shield. If you want your car to start, if you want your computers to start after some kind of nuclear event, that's the device to get. And if you go to empshield.com and use the promo code PROPHECY, get your $50 discount and help your Prophecy Club.